Okay, welcome back to Mzansi Madness, number 2.
You know?
Last time we spoke about relationships. It was very interesting. With Mzu, my good friend Mzu. Today, I got my good friend Tapiwa. I should have remembered your name.
Musvosvi. Tapiwa Musvosvi or Taps.
I didn't want to say it because I knew I was going to butcher it. I do actually know it.
It's okay.
So, yeah, another active friend. I'm not going to say everything that we said before.
You can't have enough active friends.
Too many active friends.
Did
you study medicine before, for real?
I did not study medicine.
Because I didn't think so. I was like, that's not possible.
What?
But I do need some doctor friends and some lawyer friends because
you need free medical and
exactly
legal help.
Legal advice.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so today I want to talk about another thing that I... This is supposed to be a podcast, so people can't hear you do that.
Yeah.
So basically, that was you pretending to be beating a child.
Yes.
Yeah. So we are talking about corporal punishment.
There you go.
Because I think, in my opinion, because this is all about my opinions, obviously. So I don't want anybody to criticize me, whatever. Well, I mean, obviously people can, but
leave the hate comments below. I'm joking. No.
I think corporal punishment is not good.
Okay.
Is not a good thing. I was recently speaking to a guy who was standing there with his kid, and he was talking about how he hits his kid, like how that's like part of his like parenting kind of thing. And then I think he thought that I was like that, so that it's normal, that I would also think like, oh yeah. But then I was like, that's really messed up. And then he kind of backtracked. Well, those things are loud. It's a bird. I don't know what it is. And he kind of backtracked and he was like, no, but the last time I did it was like, was a long time ago. And then he was like, right? To his kid. His kid was like, and then he was like, no, but it worked because, he never called his mom or whatever he said to his kid. So in my opinion, I'm like, but you could have just told your kid that it's not okay to call somebody that. Like, can you not reason with your kid? Like, are you bad at explaining something to your child? That was my opinion.
Okay.
Or is my opinion. I mean, I know it's exhausting. Like, sometimes I understand, like, as a parent, sometimes you don't have the time or the energy or whatever to explain everything to your kid who doesn't know very much, because that's the problem with kids, right? Is that they don't know things, they don't have experiences, they don't have a lot of information. So, like, I understand that's like the easier way of like not getting them, like burning your hand on a hot stove is like, yeah, that's going to stop you from. But if you're not explaining the reason, then they won't understand. And I don't know if you hit your kids if then you're like explaining to them like, I'm hitting you because I don't really know how it works. I've never been beaten. I've never been beaten.
Never been grounded.
Never been grounded. None of that. Actually, yesterday somebody from this production was asking me like, oh, that's your dad? Because it went around like, your dad is Biza. And then she was looking at pictures and he's like, is he strict? He looks so strict. And I'm like, he's not strict at all. Like he's like upstairs, like chilling, and like I don't know, my mom's probably shouting at us. That's kind of the situation. But he's not strict at all. There was one time when, because I was talking to my sister about this the other day, and she was saying that one time he chased her with a shambok.
What?
When she was super small. I just heard something. Was that?
Look,
did it just turn off?
No, I don't think it turned off.
I'm not sure. I hope not.
He was chasing her with the shambok.
Which is like, sounds like the most violent thing in the world, obviously. Which, I mean, but he didn't actually hit her. But he was like, she was small.
But did she do whatever she did again?
I mean, I don't know. But this is the thing. We were never naughty. Like, there was nothing in my childhood or even as a teenager that I remember where I went against what my parents told me. There was nothing where I was like, I had to sneak out or like.
Yeah, but you're coming from like a really liberal place where there's not. It's gonna sound poor, but there's not a lot that you could do wrong. In the sense that.
No, but that's what I'm saying. I didn't do drugs. I didn't even drink as a teenager. I used to walk around.
But that was
with
your choice.
2-liter bottle. Yeah, but what do you mean?
That was your choice. Well, like you didn't want to drink, but even if you had drank, obviously not like at like 5 years old or whatever, but if you had drank at the appropriate age, you wouldn't have gotten in trouble, right?
Probably not.
The first time that you drank,
But
you didn't get in trouble for that.
I was in Germany at that point. I didn't.
Okay,
That's
but
what I'm
then-
saying. As a teenager, growing up, I did not drink. I used to go partying with like a liter bottle of water on my like in my backpack.
Oh, you wild one.
Like that was just I just didn't. But that's the thing. Like my parents didn't. My parents don't drink, so it was more a thing of like living by example as opposed to like, you know, drinking, but then telling me you're not allowed to drink,
Okay.
which you can do obviously as a parent because you're allowed to drink as a grown-up and kids are not allowed to drink. But I just feel like honesty and same thing that I was saying in the episode about relationships. It's like honesty and communication, I think, makes way more sense
Definitely.
than beating your kids.
But
And-
you're talking like it becomes like a boxing match, and then like he like ties the kid down and like.
No, I mean, obviously, I do acknowledge that there's like people that beat their kids and that are like abusive. Obviously, that's not the same thing as like people who use corporal punishment when. But where's the line?
So
Where's the line? It's like physical violence. I don't really understand.
I personally was beat. But
How do you feel about that? You wanna talk about
as a
your
single
feelings?
tear comes down my face. No, I was beat as a kid. You see, yeah, it sounds so violent saying that, but
Yeah.
I was beat as a kid.
When you say beat, like what happened? Like from your like your parents
So
hit you?
yeah, my dad. It was usually
With like how?
with like a belt.
That is
Wait, it sounds.
It is
No, okay,
horrible.
but okay. The thing with them when you're saying rather explain and whatnot, like the stove being hot and whatnot, that situation that you gave. My dad always used to explain, not as he beat, like either before or like after, like it wouldn't just like I mess up once and then he beats me.
okay.
So it's like a situation where the one that I'm thinking of, and this was a one-time thing, was when I stole candy. And I got busted because I walked in the house with like a shirt full of candy. I don't
Where
even
did
know
you
why.
steal candy?
From my downstairs neighbors. It's a long story. So I stole candy, and the thing is, my dad and I, it was the nicest family ever. Like they would have definitely given me the candy if I just asked for it. But I just wanted to experience the rush, you know.
Oh, it was actually about stealing.
No, yeah, so it was about stealing. So I put the candy here, and then I was so dumb because I walked up into the house. It was in an apartment complex. I walked up into the house, and I have like this shirt filled with candy. I could have put it in my pocket. I was a dumb criminal. And my mom was like, "Where'd you get that?" And I was like, I left with it. I left home with it. And I think it was like a combination of stealing and then lying as well and whatnot. And I remember my dad talking to me about stealing and how it could start from something small and grow and blah blah blah
Yeah.
blah 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 blah.
And then he was like, "But you are a dumb child. And
You'll not
so
get this, so you have
I
to
will have
physically
to."
understand. No. He had already done the deed, and then he's
afterwards.
yeah. But
And then he was like, "So do you understand why I hit you?" And you were like, "Yes."
no,
Correct.
no.
I don't-
For me, it's a situation where different kids they react differently to different things. So, for example, you being the bright, amazing child that you were, if someone said, "Don't do
I'm gonna
this,"
go home.
don't do this, you wouldn't do it. Like you would listen. But there's some kids where, like you say, "Don't do that," and they say, "Okay," and then they do it again, and then you say, what would you say as a parent?
Don't do that.
Okay, then they do it again.
No, but I wouldn't have a kid like that.
Oh, really? What
No,
kind of kid
no,
would
no.
you have? Please tell me.
No,
the
listen,
kind of kid that you
I
produced.
just feel like no, but that's the thing. I think it's a thing of explaining
Mm-hmm.
and leading by example. I know I don't want to judge anybody that who's felt like or whose hand has slipped or whatever. I don't know how hard it is to be a parent, obviously.
I was about to say, yeah.
But I do know parents that don't hit their kids. I'm not even saying that these kids turn out to be better people. That's obviously because I know a lot of cool people that were hit. Again, it's a podcast. They cannot see.
I'm pointing at myself, people. I'm pointing. I am the cool person she is speaking of.
I actually don't know what a podcast is.
No, but why are you
I know,
recording a video
that's what I'm
if
saying.
it's just a podcast?
It's just an interview.
Okay, there you go.
Okay, so I'm so basically what I'm questioning is it beating corporal punishment is it's violence, right? You can't say that it's not violence. It's physical punishment. And I just feel like as soon as you introduce that to a child, you're introducing that in general as a thing that can be used in some circumstances. And that's what I find troubling.
But I feel sorry for cutting you off. I feel like it doesn't happen like straight from the womb, like on the way from the hospital.
When does it
like,
start? That's another interesting thing. Like when can you start hitting your kid?
It's like for a friend. I'm asking you for a friend. No. I feel there's a stage in growth where, as humans, we start understanding that what we're doing is wrong. So I think before that, there is the idea of telling them, don't do this because of this and this and that and that. And then I'm gonna jump to the other side as well because I feel kind of both ways about it. So as a parent, you need to understand, and I'm not a parent, you're not a parent, you know. So
yeah, we're like not qualified to talk about this at all.
But here we go. No,
Yeah.
as a parent, I think there's a certain understanding where it's like, okay, a kid now knows what they're doing is wrong, and then you say, listen, what you did was wrong. You shouldn't do this. And then if there's persistent behavior, then I guess that's where they start introducing corporal punishment or whatnot. I personally would not beat my kid, or I feel like I would not beat my kid because I haven't had a kid, so I can't. But I feel like beating is not the. It's very. I hate to use the word barbaric, but it's very primitive. Like
You used the worst word.
did I?
Yeah, primitive is worse than barbaric.
Is it? Like it's very, but I feel like it's very, like as humans, I think we can reason, like we speak, and like you said, we can explain, and that should be good enough to understand. And if you don't want to understand, then I guess for me, it's like, well, I guess they don't want to learn that, or they don't believe in that. I think that's going to be the kind of parent I am. I'm not saying that's right or wrong, but I feel that's how I am. But I feel where corporal punishment comes into place is when parents are like, they need to learn this. And even though they tried reasoning and they don't listen, and then they resort to the physical pain, unfortunately. On the flip side of that, when there is the whole obvious case of abusive parents, where that's a horrible thing, but I also feel like in schools, that should not be allowed because you're not the parent of the child.
Right.
And you have no right to put hands on someone else's child. I know I went to...
So, but this is my thing. I think, I agree. I don't think a teacher should be able to hit a pupil in school.
Yeah.
But by the same token, I think a parent shouldn't be allowed to hit a child either, because it's also, like, it's not your property. That's what I think is so messed up about it. It's like, I know, I'm aware of the fact that you are responsible for your child and you have to raise your child to be a decent human being and all of that. And if the tools that were given to you included corporal punishment, then chances are a lot of the time you will use those same tools. I'm saying we should question those tools because I think they're not nice, and I think it's possible without. In fact, I mean, again, like, I don't think that you become a violent person because you were hit as a kid. That, obviously, that doesn't. Psychology is way more complex than that. But I do feel like it has an effect on you in terms of, like, because what happens, right? You get hit. Doesn't necessarily mean that you understand the reason now why you were hit. It just means that if I do that thing, which maybe I understand, maybe I don't understand, what I definitely know is that I cannot let my parents know. And so you're doing things maybe secretly that you hide from your parents, which maybe your parents are correct in saying that you shouldn't do them because they're dangerous for you or whatever. But instead of, like, being open about these things, now you're hiding them because you fear that punishment from your parents. And I wonder if we sometimes, I was talking about this, kind of goes back to the relationship thing, but I was talking to somebody about that I've been dealing, like, that I've been experiencing a lot of I don't know if that's called ghosting, like people saying, like, I'm gonna come and do this for you, or I'm gonna come and see you, or whatever, like whether it's in relationships or work or whatever, and then they don't actually come or deliver or whatever, and instead of like contacting me and going like, listen, I'm sorry, I didn't manage to come and I got stuck or whatever, instead of coming and apologizing, and then you can talk about it and you can figure out, okay, how do we do that better next time or whatever, they just literally disappear off the face of this earth. Like, literally. Like, there are people that I mean, I don't want to get into details, but like that I've literally you know, I'm waiting for them and then they don't show up, and then I don't hear from them for like a week, whatever, and I'm trying to like figure out, like,
are they still alive? What's going on?
Seriously.
Yeah.
And then I find out later, like, this and this and this happened, but instead of telling me, they disappeared and they're like, yeah, I didn't want to disappoint you or something. I'm like, but that's not, to me, that's not mature behavior in any way.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering, like, is that also maybe
Like a
fear of consequence? So instead of like owning up to your mistake, if you make a mistake as a kid and you're not supposed to make that mistake, because otherwise your parents will hit you because you made that mistake, you're obviously going to hide that mistake, or not come home because you're like scared that your dad is going to be there with a right? So that's like, then you don't have, you also don't develop skills to explain and to apologize even, and to...
Yeah, but I also understandable.
Maybe I'm
But I also feel it also comes down to the relationship that you have with said parents, because sometimes you, like, some families are just like to themselves. You don't talk about anything. Things happen and you kind of push them under the rug, which is, I feel, is horrible. Or if you do something wrong, rather than the punishment, whatever it is, and explaining, it's just the punishment without explanation. And something that you touched on, which I think becomes a determining factor of that, is the explanation that happens either before or after said punishment, be it a beating, be it a grounding, be it whatever it is. But if there's, or even if it's just nothing, if it's just explaining, listen, what you did was wrong because of this and this and this and this, it opens up that communication line that sometimes is just not there, and I feel that's where that stems from. Whereas there's no reasoning to the punishment or to the effect that happens afterwards.
I feel like every child should have a trial for...
Every child should have a child.
A trial.
Oh, a trial.
Before they get the punishment, yeah.
And what consists of the trial?
I don't know. Firstly, you have to like prove that they did what you think that they did, and then they have to have a defendant, and like they should be able to, like, you know, lay down their case and like why.
So you're gonna have a lot of time as a parent.
I mean,
and sometimes kids,
ideally,
you know that they've done it. Like, where did the chocolate go? I don't know. And the mouth is filled with chocolate. Like, seriously, where did the chocolate go? I have no idea. Like, but let's have a trial. Literally, let's call the defendant now.
Right, but would you hit a kid because it's
no, I wouldn't hit a kid because it's so.
So what? Okay, so what deserves? This is, I mean, what, like, in your case, do you think there would have been a way for your dad to explain to you not to steal your neighbor's sweets without the hitting part? Or do you think it was good that he hit you? Like, even though that you say that you wouldn't hit your kids, do you think there was, like, you're like, yeah, that was...
No, for me, and I wasn't, it's not like I was beat every day. I was probably beat, like, 4 times in my life. It's not like it happened every day.
Oh.
So it's not, well, by my parents. And I'll get to the school, which is
Okay.
But then it's like it wasn't a lot of times.
Okay.
I think it was like, it's like a situation where, don't do this, I do it. Don't do this, I do it. Please don't do this, I do it. Why are you still doing it? I do it again. And what do you do then in a situation like that with a kid? And that's me asking.
I mean, but the thing is, you have that in relationships all the time, like in partnerships.
Okay, but what
for
if
instance, you have that all the time that you like explain to your partner, like, this makes me feel this way. Can you please stop doing that, or whatever the stupid things are that you have in relationships, right? And they keep doing whatever,
Okay, but
whatever it is, and you don't end up hitting them because you're like, I'm frustrated now, and you will never learn. Why do you? Well, why is it that with kids that is a tool? And with other people in your life, is it literally because you made them that you're like, well, I made you, so I can...
No, it's not. No, I don't think it's that. I think with kids, right, it's more a situation, like from in my situation, it was things where it could have been stuff that leads to illegal thing, like the stealing thing. It could have led to.
So you say you would have been a criminal
Listen,
right now?
I would have been
and not
right
an
now.
actor
Listen,
and a producer. And
I would have been stealing money and hearts. I'm sorry, I
God,
had to say
okay,
that.
I'm
Sorry.
rolling my eyes.
No, but no. In all seriousness, I think it's for me a situation where I'd be more understanding is if it's a thing where it affects. It's gonna affect you and other people later on in life, and it could affect you going to prison or your life in general. For example, if an extreme example, see your kid doing heroin, don't do heroin. And oh well, that's an addictive thing because you gotta take him to rehab. So that doesn't make sense. But you know, like if
hit
it's something,
the addiction out
yeah,
of
I'll
you.
hit
I
the
mean-
addiction out of you. No, it's like I mean something that is not an addiction, I guess, but something that they do that could affect them later on in life as a member of society, and it could have
Yeah, but like, what do you? Okay, so you're saying something like in your situation with the stealing.
with the
That's
stealing.
when you should.
If it's a thing where it becomes a constant thing, where and I again I wouldn't because I feel that there's probably a deeper lying issue there. I don't know what my deeper lying issue was. It was beat out of me, so I don't know what it was. I stopped. But
I'm actually thinking about like German kids steal all the time, dude. Like I remember growing
watch
like
mine.
I remember growing up, and then like the kids that were from Germany that came as like exchange students or whatever, like teenagers, like they all would tell these stories. Like they would go to H&M and like steal shit. Like I never knew that as a thing in South Africa, that kids would like kind of, it's not because it's not like, oh, I don't, you know, I'm struggling financially and that's what I'm saying. It's like, no, I'm like, kids, it's just like, oh, I want that, so I'm gonna steal it kind of thing. Like, so maybe it's because they didn't get hit. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
now you're second guessing it. No, I feel there's deeper lying issues to everything that happens.
I'm really scared this is not recording because then I feel like I'm wasting my time.
Oh,
Jokes.
and it's still recording.
Okay, good. Oh no, I seem like a rude person.
Yeah, now you seem like a rude person. So you see what we have to do. I feel. Do you think it stopped now? Yeah. I feel like it's not recording now. No. So I feel there is deeper lying issues to acting
Can
out.
you like, because I'm kind of.
It's okay.
It's just the mic. Okay, I'm listening. Deeper lying issues too.
There's deeper lying issues to a lot of behaviors that kids have. Like if it's stealing, I'm not a psychologist, but if it's stealing, maybe it's like, wow. If it's stealing, maybe it's like there's some attention that they want for some reason, or if it's tantrums, maybe there's also some other. There's deeper lying issues, and I think the best step to do, like once you kind of encounter that brick wall as a parent where you keep telling them, is to seek professional help rather than hitting. That's my personal opinion.
Yeah, I mean, but that's obviously something that's not available
for
to
everybody.
Especially, I mean, I am particularly talking about South African context, and that's obviously clear that that's not really an option.
And so maybe the thing would be lower the cost of things like that, or have more things available for parents who hit that block to avoid the whole beating thing.
I really think that introducing a culture of communication with your children where there's not really that much that is kind of taboo is really the way to go. Like I feel like the main problem is when you have kids and then they're kind of separate from you and you're not allowed to talk about things. That's, in my opinion, where these things, where kids are kind of left to their own. I mean, it sounds horrible, but I do think that, yeah, communication and giving your child the space to be able to come to you with all of their thoughts and feelings, whatever. Which doesn't mean, like, as a kid, obviously you don't want to talk to your parents about everything. But I do think I believe that if you have kids, then you should be open to them talking to you about everything. And I think that would reduce. I mean, that's obviously one of the things. Obviously, it's also just like we're passing on trauma to our children. Like, I mean, it's kind of one of the reasons why I'm like, oh, okay, I don't want to. Can't be having, like, what? You're gonna make another one of me that's gonna have my problems and their own problems. That is like, that's wow. But obviously, yeah, there's like all these different layers.
Yeah, I get that. And I know it seems like I've been on the pro beating.
Yeah, I was surprised.
No, you're disappointed. No, I'm joking. No, the honest truth is because I said my parents, and then there was other times where it was in a school setting where I don't believe in like teachers beating kids and stuff.
Where did you go to school?
So I grew up in the States, and then when we came back, I spent about a year and a half, not even a year and a half, about a year maybe.
In Zim?
In a boarding school, yeah, in Zim. Mm-hmm. And there, it was corporal punishment, and I feel it was unnecessary. It definitely unnecessary because these are people who might not necessarily have kids, so they don't even know how to deal with kids. But also some of like I remember when we were talking on the phone,
I'm saying that you don't know how to deal with kids just because you have kids.
Well, there's that as well, but,
but okay,
I love how he just had to correct me. But I remember on the phone I was saying like stuff is gonna shock you, like with those, like with my dad, like the most, like all probably 4 times was with a belt. But at that school, there was like computer cables, there was like hose pipes. You see, I told you you're gonna be shocked. I know, right? And I'm still normal, kinda. Yeah, it was there's like computer cables, like hose pipes. There was like sticks, like switches and things.
Was it just anything that was like there in that moment,
like,
or is it like, are these the actual tools?
No, it was like horrible situation where it was, I guess, whatever was there.
Yeah.
But they also had their specific things, like with the computer cables. You literally take it from the computer and like roll it up and then hit, and then you get like welts and stuff. Like it was, and then like
wait,
some
and then
students,
your parents knew that?
Some students, no. So it's.
Wait, why didn't they know that?
Because I didn't want to tell them because I was afraid. Remember what you're talking about? No.
Wait, really?
No, I think. But they grew up in Zim where there was corporal punishment, but I think for them it was a better situation. So for me coming from the States,
what do you mean a better situation?
Like whereas, I guess when they grew up, they didn't encounter what I encountered. Maybe they just they were lucky and had
Wait, you
good
don't
teachers
know?
with the teachers that they had.
You didn't speak to you don't know what their experience was at school.
No, we didn't speak about that. We clearly have. No, I have a great relationship with them. No, so no, it was a thing where I said the teachers are beating students, and I guess it was just like I guess he's getting adjusted to the corporal punishment in schools. I know when my mom found him, that's cool.
What is that, a monkey? A lion?
I was gonna say a donkey, but it's not a donkey. I clearly don't know my animals. Sounds like a dove. No, so like when my mom found out like the extent, because my sister also went there, and then she was getting beat because she didn't understand Shona, but we went to the States before she could even speak,
right.
And she could speak it, and she speaks it and all, but then they're like speaking proverbs and things like that, and like she didn't know all that, And every day she was getting beat. And my mom literally went to the school and says, if you touch my child again, I'm going to come and touch you. So it's that kind of situation.
Badass. Okay.
Mama. No. How come you don't do that for me? No, I'm joking, they did. But so it's like a thing where where when they found out like the extent, it was like, oh snap.
Okay.
This is what's happening. But then it was like, but it wasn't like that for all the students.
Yeah.
One of the, I guess my brother my brother came to visit me, right? True story.
Visit you from where?
From because he was studying.
Okay.
And then he'd come for holiday, and then he came to visit me. And one of the teachers is like, "Oh, so you grew up?" Because he had finished everything in the States, so he never. He's like, "You didn't go to boarding school?" I was like, "No." I was like, "Oh, so you're never beat by a teacher?" Then he's like, "No." And the guy like literally grabbed my brother's hand and started hitting him with the stick. My brother was like, and that's the last time he came to visit me at the school. But then it was, and then it was like a weird thing, like, what's happening here? And I think those are kind of like the trigger things for my parents. And then, but on top of that, it was a situation where prefects of the school were allowed to punish and give corporal punishment to students. And now these are kids punishing other kids, and it became a thing where it's literally abuse. Like the first time where I saw it, it was like in a study thing where we're studying and some kids were making noise, and prefect's like, stop making noise. Obviously after a few minutes the kids started making more noise, like calls him up, like, I told you not to make noise. He's like, yeah. And he's like, bend. And he's like, then I was like, wait, what? This was me, like my first week there, so I had never seen anyone getting hit. And then like the prefect kicks the other kid like really hard, and I was like, wait a minute. So I went to another prefect and I was like, listen, your prefects, like the head boy, I was like, your prefects here are kicking other students. And he's like, yeah, but what did the student do? And I was like, wait, no, you didn't get what I said. I said they're kicked. So it was a situation where it's a horrible thing in terms of corporal punishment, which is why I don't agree with the whole school thing, because there's no control there. And as a parent, you don't know. I mean, you've seen so many videos or like news headings and things like that of where teachers are hitting kids and it becomes abusive and whatnot. So I feel like in schools, that's a no. That's definitely a no. With parents, it's a no. But I'm not one to judge and make someone tell someone how to raise their kid. But with school, I feel strongly about like. I see you making a face.
Yeah, I mean, because I agree with you, but I'm wondering if if I saw somebody hit their kid,
how you'd react.
Because I don't think that a parent should hit their kid, and I know that I don't want to tell somebody how to raise their kid, but to me that it feels terrible saying it, and people would obviously criticize me for saying it, but it looks like abuse to me. If I see you hitting your kid, what does that look like? You're hitting your kid. Okay. What? Because she's crying because she wants an ice, like what?
No, we see, but your situations are like very like the kid is like, and the parents are like,
yeah,
don't you ever say again, you know?
Yeah, but people do that.
No, that's abuse.
But how? But that's the thing. As an outsider, you're always looking at it from your perspective. So where do you draw the line?
I guess. And I think there's one thing of like maybe your hand slips once, but I think because your kid did something fucked up and you lost your patience, you're like, I can't, like you, I've explained this so many times, but then I think you should apologize as a parent. I think you should apologize and say, I'm sorry that I hit you and that's not how you deal with these situations, but what happened is this, and then you explain it. I really think that. Yeah, I think if you hit your kid, you should apologize. That is my opinion. Okay, but
and especially if it's like, I mean, okay, that's the one situation if you just like lose it. But if it's like premeditated, like you're literally like, wow, I've told my kid this like 20 times. This kid is coming home and doing the same thing. Like, listen, we're going to talk about this and then I'm going to go get my belt. And you're going to sit here and you're going to wait for me to hit you because you have to feel that there's a correlation between what you did and the pain that I'm going to cause you. That it makes me feel deeply uncomfortable.
But okay, so and I feel this is one of the arguments that parents have in their head. They're like, would you rather have your kid fear the punishment, or, and again, I'm talking about situations where you could end up in prison or go to prison and then potentially get harmed in prison or harm other people. So in
I'm still trying to think of a situation where that is the case, when like when you don't hit your kid,
okay, let's
then
say
your kid goes to jail. Like,
let's say okay, let's say let's say your
if
kid.
it's very difficult because does that happen?
No, let's say okay, let's say your kid is bullying someone,
Yeah.
like physically bullying someone.
Yeah, I don't
Okay,
think that
what-
kids bully other children if they don't grow up with violence. I don't think so.
You don't.
No. I don't think you come from a home where everybody talks about whatever, and like you don't grow up in a violent
Yeah, but that's,
surrounding
you're talking
and
about
stuff,
home,
and then
but there's
you-
other surroundings other than home that you learn from. And I want to say that
I
the
think
environment around the
especially-
house influences you more
Yeah,
than
but
the
I think
influence in the house.
especially if your whatever school surrounding or whatever surrounding is one where violence is prevalent, then especially then your home should be your safe haven, where you don't have to deal with physical violence.
Okay. But then in terms of like with school, because there's a lot of peer pressure that happens at school, right? So in terms of like being part of the cool crowd, maybe your kid wants to be part of that cool crowd, and that's the crowd that happens to bully other kids, and they learn from that rather than, and you have that loving environment at home, because I feel as kids, there is the school influence and there's the public influence and there's the home influence, and the public influence has a far greater toll on you as a kid, because those are your friends, those are the guys that you hang out with all the time. So if hanging out with the person means bullying the person, which is what I'm saying, you can have the perfect home but still end up with a kid who is involved in bullying. That's a situation where it becomes harmful to somebody else. And as a parent, you have told them, listen, don't do this. And for some unknown reason, even though you've been the perfect mother that you promised to be,
I'm saying
and
I'd
they
be a
keep
terrible
doing it.
mom, and that's why I don't have kids.
They
So I'm
keep-
not even saying that. I'm just saying I will probably be so impatient I'll hit my kid, and therefore I'm not going to have a kid now because I don't have the patience to deal with it. but that's the thing, right? It's like if you know that you don't have the time or the energy or whatever, then
Don't have a kid.
I don't know.
So you sound like a person
Choices.
without a kid. Like you definitely. Everyone who's hearing this, like, she definitely has never had a kid. My thing is this: let's say in that situation, what would you do as a parent? Because you've spoken about kind of like the way to kind of deal other than like beating the kid. So in a situation like that where it becomes harmful to other people,
Yeah, but
what would you do?
I'm confused because the way that I grew up, we were the ones standing up for the kids that were being bullied.
That's you. That's
No,
perfect.
I know, but doesn't that have something to do with the way that you're raised?
No, it does, but it also happens to do with the environment that you are around. Like, I'm sure.
Yeah, but I'm saying there was at my school, I think it was probably to a lesser degree than maybe at other schools, but there was definitely people whose names I will not name, even though I want to, but who were clearly bullies, and they were like the hot girl that all the guys were into, and they were clearly like the cool girls, obviously, you know, flowing blonde hair and whatever. My heart, so jealous. And they were bullies. They were shit to other kids, and I stood up for the other kids. That was, even though I was the only black kid in my class, man, it wasn't easy. Like it was.
I understand, but I feel
But-
like you're making it a private thing. Like it's
about
about you, right?
Yeah, but obviously I can only speak for. I'm just saying.
But I'm talking about situations where maybe were all those kids who were bullies in a crappy house, like were they all abused or were they all beaten?
I mean, I don't think this girl was beaten. She was just.
Yet she was
just hot, and then thought that that's what you have to do as a hot person. I don't know. Maybe
So-
that's what her
so
example
maybe you
was.
have
Like
a
all
hot
those
kid.
shitty movies, like Clueless or whatever. The hot girls are always like the
The
bullies.
bullies, yeah.
Yeah. So maybe she was like, I gotta be like this.
So oh gosh. So let's say you happen to have the hot blonde kid, like that's your daughter. What do you do in a situation like
I have
that?
to leave this earth. I didn't want to say something more violent than that, but I wouldn't want. Oh my god, nightmare. See, this is what's terrifying about having kids. It's
No,
like you don't get to
obviously,
choose
you don't
your
choose who
kids.
your kid is.
I'm
Like,
so scared. What if I'm just like,
what are they gonna be like in
shit
5 years' time?
kid.
Now pass
That's
on
like-
that. Yeah.
Oh my god, I never thought of that.
No.
What if I had this?
Horrible child. Yeah. I'll be the first to let you know. Hey, your child is a horrible human.
Yeah, this is a problem. This is a problem. Okay, I guess in that case, definitely.
You-
Yeah.
would you?
But not even just because she's done something, just like she's annoying the fuck out of me. Like,
Yeah, that's horrible. And why you
no, I
laughing?
know, I'm sorry. I obviously take
You
it back.
take it
I'm
back,
obviously,
yeah.
No, but now I don't know what to say anymore. Yeah, I
So-
see what you're saying.
So again, I'm sure like situations like that, there were deeper lying issues with her, and in a situation where you can't afford the luxury of seeing someone or having
They have
someone
the money.
speak to the child, and they just
They shouldn't.
didn't.
didn't
you're,
know.
you're thinking of specific people. Like this
Yeah,
one
very
person's like, they definitely had money. I drove by their house. It was pink. And it was just like this is, no, but no. If there's a situation where you can, I feel you should as a parent. Like, but then let's say that you have that blonde child, but you are making 4,000 rand a month, 5,000 rand a month, whatever it is, where you can't afford.
I would have never. Then that person would have never, because the problem was she was too rich. I think that was her main problem.
So you're not a psychologist. Like, her problem was, so you know.
No, it was definitely that was part of the problem.
No, obviously, and there's the privilege that comes with the
She
wealth
was too rich and was
whatever.
not aware of her privilege at all. That was definitely part of the problem.
Well, no, definitely. But let's, if you can humor me.
No, but it doesn't
Have a
make any
situation-
sense. You can't create this situation.
Why? Are you saying there's no kids that end up being bullies even though they have a good home, but they
Well,
are?
what is a
they
good
have
home?
like
because I'm not saying
a
that
not
you-
beating home. That's
well,
our
okay,
that's our.
But I'm
mark.
not even saying that because I'm aware that like parents love their children and are doing it in their mind for the best of their kids, and like it has something to do with the fact that they love their kids so much. I understand that. I'm not disputing that people who hit their kids don't love them. Definitely not.
You're
Obviously,
just disputing the
they're doing
actual
it
act.
wrong. They're doing the loving wrong. Is what I'm
But
saying.
what if that's all they know?
That is exactly what I'm saying. That's all they know. They don't have the other tools. In my opinion, maybe that's obnoxious of me, but that's what I think, and that's why I want to talk about it, because I want to talk about the fact that there are other options, and that maybe it's not that normal. But I think that if you grow up with that being normal, then that's how you will go on
how
to
you
raise
view
your
things
kids,
as normal.
especially when you don't talk to other people about other options of raising your kids. So that's the main reason that I want to talk about these things. Same with the relationship thing. If you don't know that there are other forms of relationships where you don't have to lie, for instance, then you're like, wait, a relationship is like this woman that I was talking to. She was saying that, oh God, now I've completely forgotten what I wanted to say. Talking about how she liked somebody, and so she had to play it like she didn't like her or whatever to me. And I was like, that is such a weird thing that we're taught, that you have to make yourself like
Hard to get.
or rare or whatever in order to get that person. That's messed up. Why can't we be honest, But we're taught that, and so we believe that, and then we have these weird relationships, and we're like so confused why. It's
But
like
do you
literally
like
because
me?
because we don't because we grow up that way, and we think that that's the way to do it, and that's the normal way, and we don't really, because if you don't hear from other people that there's other options, then you're not going to talk about them, you're not going to try them out, that's why I think it's important to talk about these things. And I'm not saying that I have the solutions. I'm just questioning, because I've realized it seems to be very normal to hate your kids. I'm questioning that. I'm saying, can't you talk to your kids about these things? Can't you give them the option of explaining themselves? Can't you open up a dialogue about, and also, you do have different values from your child, and that's another problem, right? It's like your values might be, you're not allowed to do this because of whatever, God, or whatever your reasoning is. And your kid is like, but I don't believe that, so that makes no sense to me. And you're like, no, but but
I was
this
about to
is
say
so. Then
that.
you hit your kid because of your based on your values, because you believe that your kid is doing it wrong. But the fact is, you don't own your child. You owe your child the best that you can give them because you made them be here and they did not consent to that shit. But you don't own them, and I think it's very important for parents to be aware of that all the time. Actually,
Yeah, no, I was gonna say a lot of the times that things like
I'm gonna check if it's still recording. Continue.
it's still recording, isn't it?
Oh my god, and it's so we've been talking way too long. Continue.
In conclusion, no, I was literally gonna say like a lot of the times I feel the problem comes when you try to implement your beliefs onto your kids before you have let them develop their own beliefs. The flip side of that coin is if you believe in God or Allah or whoever you might.
Okay, please let's not go through every.
Yeah, I was literally gonna name all of them.
I know. My dad does that.
But whoever you believe in, and if there is a heaven for that religion or belief, and your child is doing the opposite, I'm sure as a parent, as a loving parent, you want your child to make it to said heaven. And if they're doing stuff, and if you see stuff that, because you believe in it wholeheartedly.
Do you know who I think the worst people in the world are? People who are, because I know everybody's like annoyed with like Christians that try to like convert you. I think Christians who don't try to convert you are the worst because they like don't care about you going to hell.
So
that is terrible. Like you actually 100% believe that everybody else is gonna burn in fire for eternity, and you're not spending it. Like you're literally eating pizza with me, full well knowing that I don't believe in God, and you're just like, it's delicious, instead of like having like trying to save me.
It's like, well,
wow, no, that's
enjoy
bad.
your pizza now.
Enjoy it while you can. That's terrible.
And I'll be eating my pizza in heaven, watching you. No, I no. So in that situation, as a parent, let's say you're, whatever belief you believe in. Let's say, would you not be desperate to try to get them to believe that?
For sure. That's why I question having children.
Yeah.
I'm being half serious.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, so what's the I guess conclusion for this? Like what would you say?
What would I say about having
No, about having kids, about beating kids, about not beating kids, about corporal punishment.
Is there like a nice word for it? Like like people that use corporal punishment, what do they call it? Do they say? They don't say I beat my kids. They like say like
I'm gonna corporal punish you. I
use.
They say spank. I've heard spank.
Yeah, spank with a belt. That's not spanking, is it?
That was. I'm pretty sure. I don't remember what it was called. I remember how it felt. No, I'm joking. But I do.
You do remember.
No, I know.
You go there when you act.
It's like I need you to cry. Don't worry, I got this all sorted. Steal the candy. Steal the candy.
No, I don't know. I'm just. Again, I'm not saying how it's done better. I'm questioning the use of. It would be interesting to me to hear from people that say, without my parents beating me, I would have been a shit person. Like, I mean, it's very difficult to say because you can't have a parallel universe where. But it would be interesting. I mean, I have been seeing. I was telling you about that with like all these memes, like on Facebook or wherever, like people talking about like, almost like.
Reminiscing,
like
good old days.
Black parents be like, and then you have, or like only children of black parents will know what this is, and then like a picture of like whatever that can be used as like a
like a
stuff
sandal.
like that, where it's like it's almost like it has this nostalgic feel to the way that they're.
I mean, we survived. Like every time I think of it, Destiny's Child Survivor plays in my head. I don't know. I can say.
I mean, I think it has something to do. I mean, all of these things have something to do with like finding other people that have but also finding other people that have had the same experiences, like about more like community building, I guess, than anything else. But it seems like, I mean, I do know a lot of people. When I say no, I mean like Facebook no. a lot of people who, you know, would say like, yeah, like if you don't get beat, you'll have like terrorists like in the US, these guys that shoot up like schools or whatever. That's like the result of like not beating your kids because they don't learn to respect or whatever, which I obviously think is ludicrous.
Statistically speaking, though, is it? Like you're talking about like how in Germany, statistically speaking,
What?
the kids were stealing more.
Yeah, but is it wrong to steal?
Is it wrong to steal?
These are it's like obviously like I think there's something.
If something doesn't belong to you and you take it, is that what you're asking?
If something, I'm saying that if I wasn't too scared, too paranoid of stealing something, then I would probably steal sometimes. Yeah, because there are something like.
So aren't you glad that you're scared or like?
No, but I'm scared of getting caught by authorities.
Yeah, but
my parents are not the.
No, not about your parents, but like you have that fear of getting caught, and I feel like but I'm saying it's not good because I'm annoyed about it. Like, because you want to steal.
Yeah, because there are some things that I want that I can't. Listen, I don't think that you can steal from somebody that has like a little shop and you know that's like a, but like, I mean I don't know if I'm. Is there a word such as incriminating? Is that a word? I don't know.
Go ahead, incriminate yourself.
English.
Incriminate yourself.
No, but I'm thinking like.
Let's
but
move the microphone right close to your face.
But like going to whatever H&M and like take like you know, is there something wrong with that? Really, they're insured as well.
So you're saying you have stolen from H&M?
No, I have not.
But you would see nothing wrong with it.
No. If somebody stole something from H&M and said, I stole this, I wouldn't be like, oh,
but the thing is...
What? Like, no, I would be like, oh, that's cute. If it's cute. If it's ugly, I'd be like, bring it back.
So I stole this, and it's too ugly for me. No, but the thing is, it doesn't belong to you.
No, I don't.
And at the same time, you need to understand the repercussions that's going to have because they're going to take inventory and they're going to be like, well, stuff keeps getting stolen here. Who's the person who's supposed to be watching?
Yeah, but that's what happened, and that's why now they have in Germany because they were stealing so much. Now they have all those tags on on every single one of those things. It's because too many of the kids were stealing too much H&M. But I don't think it's a moral. I don't think there's something morally wrong with that. I know stealing is morally.
You need to have a podcast about stealing because I feel it definitely is wrong. If it's not yours, if it doesn't belong to you.
I've got to think about this now.
If it doesn't,
do I think there's something wrong? No, I know that you shouldn't steal.
Regardless of what it is.
I'm just saying that I don't... A poor person stealing something from somewhere, from a shop, from a supermarket, going to Woolworths and stealing something... Do you think that's morally wrong? I don't think so.
I think there's a difference between stealing for stealing, like stealing an outfit from H&M, and stealing to survive. Whereas if there's someone who doesn't have
But don't you think the fact that there's a difference is like there's something fundamentally wrong with like the way we talk about possession even, and that there's something like things belonging to that's already a weird concept. I
feel the thing of stealing is point blank wrong. The situation where there's a poor person stealing to survive, that's a societal issue where society has just so messed up that there is that huge gap between the wealthy and the underprivileged and the people who don't have stuff, and that is what needs to be sorted out. But stealing, regardless of whatever it is in itself, stealing is wrong. Then comes the gray area where, but I don't have anything, and then that becomes a gray area because of the way that society is. I feel I understand why they steal. I don't think it's right. I understand why they steal, and because of my understanding about why they're doing it, that would make me say, okay, you can't arrest somebody who's stealing for survival. But point blank, if it doesn't belong to you, in the sense that right now you're working on a film. What? Right now you're working on a film, and you're gonna get paid for the work that you did, right? And I steal that money from you.
No, but that's what I'm saying. I don't think you should steal from individuals.
You steal from you.
No, but
steal from everyone else.
I'm just saying that there's a difference between stealing from big corporations that are robbing people. Let's be honest. Like, really.
But I feel that's their issue.
So you're saying two wrongs don't make a right?
I'm definitely saying that. I'm definitely saying that. Even though we've digressed from beating the kids.
Okay, so basically...
Spoken like a person who was never beat. Stealing is okay. I'm joking. I'm joking. Sorry, you're saying?
Yeah. Okay, I mean, I don't think that you should go around and steal. I wouldn't have such a big problem with somebody such as myself stealing stuff from H&M.
You're going to jail after.
I am 100%. But this is interesting, right? Because then, see, like, if you have two parents that have fundamentally different views of the world, of morals and values, then you would hit your kid for stealing at H&M, and I would be like, can you bring me something next time? It's like, that is confusing. That is very confusing.
No, yeah. But why did you make me beat the kid in this situation?
I don't know, I just feel like... No, I don't know. It's difficult. No, I'm not... Okay, I have to think about this some more. I wasn't preparing to talk about stealing, so now I'm confused about what I believe about stealing.
And we hope you are not as confused as
It's just
us.
like, well, because why do they get to decide what the price is? Like, I feel like you're overcharging me, and if you're overcharging me...
Definitely. But that has nothing to do with me. That's
No, I take
that's
it back.
them
I take
being
it
a
back.
bad person.
No, I take it back.
Why?
It's too complicated. I don't want to get into this now.
Okay.
It's too complicated. But I don't think all stealing is wrong. Is what I'm saying. There's definitely some stealing where I'm like, yeah, you should steal because you need to have a family to support or whatever it is.
And that I don't think that makes stealing right. I think that makes you understand the situation. Because stealing is stealing. Stealing is taking something that's not yours. That's the definition of stealing. So stealing is still stealing, be it 1 rand or 1,000,000 rand. Stealing is stealing because that makes you no different from...
Yeah, but it is more complex than that because, like, if you have a shop that is selling things and whoever owns the shop because they had all this land where they could make all this money, and who does that land belong to? And now you're coming in that shop and like stealing a chicken because you need to feed your family. Then like, whose chicken are you from? Which land is that chicken? You know, it's
there's
very
so
complicated.
many variables. I understand. But I feel at the base of it, stealing as a definition is wrong. Like stealing as what stealing is, taking something that doesn't belong to you. I know you're talking about like the land that was taken. You
literally sound like a priest right now.
And I'll pray for you. I will pray for you to not be a thief.
No, okay.
No, but like, I don't know whether I'm making sense.
I
like,
obviously understand. I'm not like...
There's definitely that gray area where understanding has to come to play. And in an ideal situation, we wouldn't have that situation where you're too poor to afford, so now you have to resort to stealing. And also the thing of, H&M makes... I hope
I don't know.
this is an example, H&M or whatever. But they make money, and perhaps it's overcharged or whatever. But I feel that's
overcharged for what they're paying the workers.
Yeah,
it's not. I mean,
but that's their morality. That's them being bad people.
Yeah,
and you can't force everyone to be good. Okay. Just trying to tell me to shut up.
No, basically, just because the sun is going down and I'm getting cold.
Go ahead.
But also, what?
I thought you were shutting me up. So
Mzansi Madness, number 2.
That's how it ends.
No. Okay, so I don't know. Literally because the sun is going to be gone.
Hopefully the camera is adjusting because
it's probably not on anymore. But also, okay, so that I don't know if there's anything that I need to add. But we will continue talking about this another time. I don't know.
Okay.
Or not. Or we'll talk about bestiality next time.
Oh my gosh.
We should definitely switch this off because that is like the crew right now. And this is like mighty awkward.
All right.
Part 2. Okay, bye.